I would smoke weed and drive when I was younger, leading to some forgotten tasks. Well, this actually happened years ago, but guess it was in 1995. I was a pretty chronic weed smoker back in the day. My favorite thing to do was roll a joint, drop the top on my Jeep, crank the tunes, and drive the back roads just outside of town. This one time I smoked and went for a drive and I got the munchies. My guilty pleasure were McDonald's cheeseburgers at the time, so that's where I went. Now the McDonald's here have two windows. One window for paying and you advance and pick up your order from the next window. I get to the drive-thru and order a 2 cheeseburger with a large fried and a large Coke. The girl on the speaker says the $3 to $4. I can't remember, and to pull ahead, I get to the next window. She repeats the order and the price, $3 to $4. I look at her, grab a $10 bill and hand it to her and then drive forward. I proceed to bypass the next window and turn back onto the road. I drove away without my change and right past the window that had my food. I was 1/4 mile away before I realized what I did and was too embarrassed to go back. I turned into the Burger King down the road and bought my second meal in the last 10 minutes. I don't know why, but back in the day my stupidest experiences happened at McDonald's. I accidentally hooked up with a trans woman. Last night I was at the club on my university campus. The night was going well and I'd had quite a lot to drink. I saw a girl across the club, beautiful hair and a great body. I approached her and spent the next hour or two talking, and we kissed a few times. At about 2 a.m. we headed back to my flat and proceeded to undress each other. She gave me a blowjob before I had her fully undressed. She gave great head. When I eventually got her undressed, she admitted that she was trans and had started female hormones as a teen and therefore never went through male puberty, hence her body being very feminine, as well as her voice, and also meant she had quite a small penis. She told me that because of this she's never hooked up with anyone and the most she'd done was blowjobs, probably why she was so good at them. Being drunk and horny, I decided to just go with it and ended up continuing the night and taking her virginity. We obviously went slow and used lots of lube. Lucky I had some. It was honestly some of the best sex I've ever had, and we'd done it a few times before cuddling and going to sleep. I woke up this morning with mixed emotions as I was now sober and could see that I was spooning a trans woman. As much as I was confused, as I had always been attracted to cis women, only I couldn't help but get horny again. I ended up having sex with her a few more times this morning and throughout the day. I also gave her a blowjob, although she struggled to stay hard but managed to cum regardless. Also my first time ever tasting cum, not as bad as I thought. I'm confused as to whether I should continue with her and potentially date her, or if I should act as if it hadn't happened and go back to dating cis women. Although the sex was amazing, I have also had great sex with cis women and don't know what to do. I'm scared that my friends will judge me if they find out, but her personality is honestly amazing, and if she wasn't trans, I wouldn't even be confessing this here. I threw a drink through a lady's open car window. I-24F. Was around 19 and leaving my work. This woman was driving recklessly, weaving off of the road to get around people, and then stopping in front of them, and proceeded to run me off of the road. When I got back on the road behind her, she kept slowing down and acting like she was moving off of the road so that when I'd try to pass her, she would try to hit my car. The one lane then split into two, a straight lane and a right-hand turning lane. I decided to go straight. No one was behind me and the person in front of her was taking forever to turn. I'm assuming they didn't realize the light was green. My windows were down and so was her driver's side window. I chucked my fountain drink from my lunch break through her window and went straight. For context, I'm usually a very patient person, to the point where someone could be a straight-up asshole to me, and I'll think to myself, are they okay? They must be having a bad day, and I'll let it go. But something in me that day just was not having it. I know what I did was wrong, believe me. As I was driving off, I immediately thought, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm not saying what she did was right either. I mean, it's not like she was weaving around people because of an emergency if she had time to sit there and fuck with people, right? I don't know. It's been something I've been going back and forth on in my mind whenever I happen to think about it. I poured water in the engine of my dad's motorcycle. There's not much to it. I was younger, my dad made me mad, and coincidentally there was a bucket full of water sitting on the sidewalk next to us. I picked it up, poured it in the engine, and that was that. Shortly after, he tried to start it up and it didn't work. Years later, he's dead and the motorcycle is still broken sitting in our front yard. I used to hurt my disabled brother when I was younger. My older brother is several years older than me, but he will always have the mental capacities of a toddler due to medical issues and mental disabilities. Not going into detail for anonymity, he is incapable of taking care of himself at all. For as long as I was capable of caring for myself, 8 years old or so, I had to take care of feeding him, giving him showers, getting him dressed, making sure he got his medications, etc., along with my other siblings. My parents didn't really help that much. Yes, they were neglectful. That's not the point of this post though. My brother always hated showers, and I hated helping him because he would get physically violent when he was upset. He'd hit me, pinch me, etc. He had no idea what he was doing was wrong, but I would get so mad when he'd do it. I was so tired of being stuck at home all the time to take care of this ungrateful person who was constantly hurting me, so I would hurt him back. I'd never do anything that would leave marks, but I would roughly grab his wrists to stop him from pinching or hitting me harder than I needed to, or I'd grab his face, or I'd pinch him back, as much as I could get away with without leaving a mark. Sometimes if he wasn't cooperating while I blow dried his hair, I would hold the hairdryer in one place until he complained it was too hot. Sometimes I would do this just if he was refusing to do what I asked, not just if he was hitting me. The worst thing I did was put my hands around his neck and think about strangling him. I did this a couple of times. I never actually squeezed, thank God, but sometimes I wonder if I really would have done worse if I wouldn't get caught. I never did get in trouble, nor did I get caught by my parents. Rather than it being like a scuffle between siblings, I feel like it was more like I was intentionally hurting him to take out my frustration, and I knew I could get away with it because he cannot coherently speak out and tell my parents what I was doing to him. I feel like that's the worst part, the fact that I was taking out my frustration on a vulnerable person who could not tell on me, and who, despite being bigger than me for the large majority of this duration of this time, would not seriously fight back. He would hit me, but it wouldn't be that bad. The worst harm he inflicted on me was leaving a few small scars on my hands from scratching me. While I never left any lasting damage, any marks, etc., I still feel like a disgusting person for taking advantage of someone like that. I still dread the idea of harming other people and wonder if I would still do the kind of thing today. I know what I did was wrong, and that I will never ever be a truly good person because of those things I did in my past. I never told anyone what I did to him, except for my other siblings. I needed them to understand why I could not be the one to take care of him when as an adult, and a friend. P.S. For anyone concerned, my brother, and all my other siblings, have now been safely away from my parents and me for several years. We are all independent adults. My brother goes to a special needs program and has a job during the day, and my eldest sister is paid to take care of him. I have apologized to my brother several times, although he doesn't understand, and he is at the very least happy to see me when I visit, which honestly makes me feel worse. I constantly waffle back and forth between feeling like my reactions were fair or typical sibling behavior, to feeling like it was abuse. But in my heart, I know what I did was wrong, no matter how much my siblings and friend tell me my reactions were normal for someone my age. I think about it all the time, so I guess that's why I'm making a post about it. Anyways, thanks for reading. I stole alcohol from the same store every other day for 2 years without getting caught. I've never told anyone this because obviously it's embarrassing and completely unhinged. This happened during the height of my alcoholism when my family thought I had been recovering. I feel very guilty for lying to them and for betraying the trust they had in me, so I will take this secret to the grave. It's just so crazy that I actually did this and that no one ever knew. I want to tell someone, so I'll post it here. Sorry if it's long. Starting around 2 years ago, during the work day, I would take a 10-minute break and go steal alcohol pretty much every other day, sometimes 2 days in a row. I worked in an office in a nicer side of town, and there was a big chain drugstore about 5 minutes from my workplace. My boss never suspected anything of me. I'd just tell him that I was taking my 10, usually around 10:11 a.m., grab my purse, jump in my car, and I'd, mostly, be back on time. I'd go to the drugstore, which was normally busy during this time of day, and just head right through the makeup aisle to the back where the pharmacy was, so I did not pass the employees in the front. From the pharmacy, the liquor aisle was a straight shot, and then I could go back the same way so that it appeared I was leaving from the pharmacy. Since I did not have a shopping bag, to be honest, I don't really think it would have mattered which route I took. Nobody ever noticed me. Now most of the liquor bottles had anti-theft devices on them. This particular store was much more lax than others about this though. The majority of the time, I would just take a plastic bottle of cheap vodka and then I'd walk into an empty aisle without a visible camera and just casually put the bottle in my purse. Then I'd walk out. One day after a few weeks of doing this regularly, I went in and all the bottles were locked with a security cap, or at least it looked that way. I would always find one bottle that did not have a lock. It was either further behind the others or it was a different brand type of alcohol, most times more expensive and glass not plastic. You'd think I would have taken that as a warning to stop and that they were catching on, but I continued to go to this same store and do the same thing without ever running into any kind of trouble. To make this story worse, I would also drink at work with my stolen alcohol and, again, nobody ever expressed any kind of notice about this to me. What I'd do is empty out half of a water bottle and fill the rest up with alcohol. I'd usually take a bottle from the work fridge and put it in my purse before I left for my break, or I'd just steal a water bottle from the store too. For over a year, I was drinking every day at work, starting in the morning and just going all day. The rules of normal society and behavior just didn't apply to me anymore. I got away with so much and no one ever said a thing. I'd go out to my car to refill the water bottle with alcohol throughout the day. I'd just hide the bottle under my blouse so it didn't look weird. I can't imagine what my boss or coworkers would think if they knew what I was doing. I'm honestly mortified thinking about it. In fact, I can make this story even worse because while drunk at work one afternoon, I went to take my 10 and I fell down in the parking lot and suffered a severe injury that kept me out of work for 3 months on FMLA. No one ever knew that it was because I had been drinking on the job, and when I went back to work, I went right back to doing the same routine. For those who ask why I didn't just buy the alcohol, as part of keeping up the appearance of recovering, I needed to be completely honest about my spending and let my partner check my card for purchases as a way to show him I was not lying to him. I couldn't have bought it without blowing the whole thing. Addiction can make you almost sociopathic, and I have suffered the consequences of my actions and continue to. I know I was wrong. So TLDR, I shoplifted alcohol basically every day from the same drugstore and drank daily at work and never got caught. Edit, I really appreciate all the support. I totally thought I was going to get ripped apart on here. Alcoholism is an ugly, terrible disease and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I have stopped drinking for the most part, but my brain is still broken and I still have to learn how to live without it. I haven't fully gotten to a place where I'm at peace, but I can tell you that it's night and day from where I used to be. All I can do is be better to myself moving forward.